So hello and welcome to our latest 100K Club interview. These are interviews where I speak to some of our past Property Mastermind graduates who have in a relatively short amount of time got to the point where they are earning more than £100,000 of profit from their property portfolio. And today I'm delighted to have with us a guest, Nick Smith. So Nick, how are you?
I'm fine, Simon. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for sparing your time. You've got a really interesting story, Nick. So I want to kind of delve straight into that. And I'm sure people are going to get lots of inspiration and lots of golden nuggets they can pick up and use in their property journey as well. So first of all, Nick, just tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, first of all.
Okay, so my background actually is traditional corporate background. Left school, got a job, and worked my way up into. I was in a manufacturing industry. Did quite well. Worked myself up into management director level, and kept in that from a very early age to relatively recently.
Yeah. And you dabbled a little bit in property in that time, hadn't you? So you weren't completely new when you came to us, were you?
I did. I did well as a in the corporate world. I had money to invest, and then it's one of those: what do you do with it? Where do you go? There's your stocks and shares options, ISAs, and property. And I always knew, I was wise enough to realize that property was a good investment. So yeah, I dabbled in single lets. I looked around, looked at areas. And picked up single lets. Didn't do anything particularly well at that point. I was doing them up, and I was doing my own tiling, and I was just doing it. No education whatsoever, going on gut instinct. I knew the prices. I did walk the streets. It was before the internet and Rightmove, and so I knew the prices. I was very, very into that. So I bought really well. I did things that needed to add value. I knew the principle of adding value, and I knew the principle, gradually learned to revalue out. I used 0% credit cards a lot, doing them up, refinancing out. So I was doing that a lot, knowing that was in my mind, that was going to be my pension. I was carry on working, and I'm building up a pension pot at some point.
So what was the catalyst for you to decide to, given you've already got some experience, I think you were buying well, you were doing some good things. What was the catalyst that made you decide to come and invest in yourself and come and do the mastermind program?
It's a good question, because I had done zilch for years and years. My first property I bought was back in 1996 as an investment property. And it was before 2018 before I started to look at any education whatsoever, and that's because I decided at that point I wanted to leave corporate world. I was doing. It sounds a bit funny. I was doing so well. I kept getting promoted and promoted.
Yeah.
I didn't get married till I was later, I didn't have children until I was 40. So I'd been a single person, living that corporate world, putting the effort in, investing on the side. I was flipping as well. I'd flipped properties since around about 2008. So I built up some money from flipping properties. But there came a point where it was a critical point when I was offered a promotion. It was a really good promotion. I was already looking after European factories, Asian factories in Asia, and I was spending a lot of time away from home. It all gets a bit same after a while.
Fine when you're young and single, maybe, but not so good when you've married and got kids.
I was going to India, and it was a full week. By the time I'd got there and looked after a couple of days' work there and coming back, I'd gone for a week easily. So I knew it was time that my kids, because I had children. I got married late. I had children late. They were quite young. I still wanted to enjoy that. I'd got to the point where I wasn't really pushing in corporate world to do anything. I didn't have to prove anything to anybody. It wasn't a case of that. I'd lost that mojo. I lost that drive in terms of in terms of, you know, what I sat down one day and thought, what am I proving to who and what? All I'm doing is getting promotions. Oh, and watching it all go to the tax man as well. Most of it going to the tax man. Oh yeah, that was a little bit painful. And but at the same time, spending time away from the people I loved. So I sat down one day and thought, well, I need to change this. And I did property early on because not only I thought it was a good investment, because I really seriously enjoyed it. I seriously enjoyed adding value, creating something that worked and that was different. And I like to see, even though sometimes when you keep the properties, it's paper value. It's, you know, you don't unless you sell it and crystallize it. Yeah. You don't get it in your bank, but you see it there. So it was the automatic thing to do. It was what I knew and what I enjoyed doing. I've been looking after them all this time. I've been flipping and I put a lot of systems in place I put a lot of systems in place for working on a full-time job, having a family, flipping and renting out properties. So I'd systemized a lot. I had to, because I was busy. But that was the critical. I had to then sat down and think, right, what do I do? Well, property was the obvious thing. I enjoyed it. But then I thought to myself, well, all right, I've got some experience. I'd definitely pick some experience up. But where are my gaps? And when I looked at my portfolio of single lets and I looked at what the income it generated, I couldn't live off that. That wasn't anywhere near, because I'd been playing at it. I'd been doing it. I'd been playing at it. It was always a second. In fact, all the money I earned from them just got put on top of my income, which then got taxed. Yeah. So to be honest, I never really wanted it to earn any money. If I earned some money, I went and bought another one. So I had a good asset base. So I was asset rich, but I had no income virtually at all because I was maximizing the money buying something else because I didn't want to be paid any income from it. Suddenly, when I looked at it, I needed to. So what I needed to do is I needed to rejig it. I needed to invest maybe some of the capital I built up into specifically high yielding properties. So HMOs was the obvious thing. Did I have a HMO? No. Did I know how to do it? No. So it was a case of, right, let's go out and let's get educated and find out how to do it well. That's the other motivation from my perspective is, if I'm going to do something, I am going to do it the best I can to my ability. Yeah. And I'm also fully aware that I'm not, you know, I have to work hard and I have to learn from people and I have to understand it. And also I'm okay reading books and doing things, but I'm actually better doing it and seeing it and face-to-face stuff and learning it. And sometimes it might take 1 or 2 times to go. You know, I'm not a sort of person that can read something and know it instantly. I have to work at it. I have to make sure I know it deep. And I don't think I'm doing myself justice if I don't learn it properly. So that's a long-winded answer, but that's very much, I'm sat there. I know I need to learn some aspects of it. I know I need to change to a higher yielding strategies. And I know I need a training format and where I want the best person in the market to train me, and I want a format that will suit me in terms of knowing and learning it and getting it on board. So that's where I sat, and that's how I came to education.
And so, obviously, I know you shopped around and did your due diligence. What specifically was it that brought you to Mastermind?
I did actually. I had a little look. I started completely from scratch. I didn't know who the players were in the market. I'd started to connect up to a few people on the internet. Got a load of emails coming in. I had a little wander around, and some of what I saw, it was too. I was a little bit nervous. Is not the right word, but certainly skeptical in terms of you know, what is this? It seems a bit too, you know, some of the things that they were saying. I knew property was hard. I knew it wasn't easy, and I knew it wasn't as simple as what some of the adverts say. But what I liked is I liked the format Mastermind. I liked the gravitas that Mastermind had. I quickly learned that the best people in in this industry who were doing the best things, and the things I was seeing had been masterminders. So that was the key for me. The key for me was, if I'm going to tick that box, and if I'm going to do the best I can do, and feel as if I've given it my best shot, then I need to do the training that the best people have done.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was almost as soon as I saw that, I came down to the accelerator, and at that point I signed up after the accelerator on the day, because for me it was everything I needed. It was the format I wanted. You yourself clearly, had all that knowledge that was there, and knew that was a case of me just listening and understanding it. The format that you do on the mastermind just worked well for me. And for me it was an automatic decision.
And so obviously you did pretty well on Mastermind. So do you want to tell everyone who's watching the overall results you got in that year?
Yeah, so I should just wrote them down because I had to just remind myself. So so because I went for it because I'd got a bit of capital put behind me from the property I've been doing. But also it was one of those things. Well, this is a year basically, and this is again comes back to my same mentality. If we're going to do it, let's do it. Let's go for it. And let's do it right. But let's do it. I don't really need to work too much on mindset and action in things. It was really a case of let's just learn how to do it and do it. So I ended up with 6 purchases, one option agreement. My income level that I generated that year was £170,195, which was more than I was earning in the corporate world.
Was that income after mortgages? That's profit.
Yeah, that's profit. So that was net profit. And property value was over the 2 million mark.
So in a year, despite being investing previously for 20 plus years, in the 1 year, because you were focused and obviously very determined and really went for it, you more than replaced the income you were making in the corporate life.
Yes. And that's crazy. And it sounds crazy. And and I'll be the one that be the skeptical one that will be sat there thinking, is this true? But yes, that's absolutely
Did you
true.
think you'd do that? I mean, obviously you had a hope. You think you'd get that much?
No, because you had your banners up, and I thought, okay, well, that's doable. I looked at the banners, and you have some figures up there in terms.
Yeah, we say you could learn how to get £1 million of property and a £50,000 of profit.
Yeah, and that's always good for me to have.
Everyone does. We get about 15 to 20% people in the first year. Most people take 2 or even 3 years to get there. But you more than tripled that.
Yeah, and because I'm always a bit of a results orientated individual, and targets are good, and I do a lot of running events and things like that because it's good. My mentality is good for me to have a goal and set a target. So I'd set myself some targets I had. But then the other side of it is, well, let's just do what he tells me to do, and let's turn some stones, and let's see what comes out. Let's just keep turning stones and doing that process. Let's just do that process, turn some stones, and what it took away, what it allowed me to do, in fact, it was the best way to describe it, because I've thought about this often afterwards, was it gave me no reason to hesitate at all at any point.
Right.
It gave me no element because I turned the stones, I got opportunities, I did the numbers as I should do the numbers. I looked at the scenarios, I did my homework, and why would I then hold back? Why would I then? There was nothing, so I was doing yes to that while I was still looking for the next one, and I was saying, that's going, project underway, and I am capable of, because I've always had the capacity to do lots of things at once. I could have multiple projects running at the same time and keep them all going. So to do that, you have to overlap lots and lots and lots of things. Yeah. But there was no hesitation at any point. There was no need to hesitate because all my boxes that I'd been taught were getting ticked.
Yeah.
So that's it. And that's the best way I can describe it. There was no way. If I was doing it without the education, then I might be thinking, is that right? Because you want the experience to want to do. You do one, you see if it worked out. Then you wait. Then you do another, and you see if that worked out.
Yeah.
Then you do another, and then you might then speed up a bit. But in a year, you can't do that level without being not procrastinating around decisions, and you don't have to wait, because there was an element of trust there, i.e.,
absolutely, yeah.
You know, is Simon telling us, and is that going to be true, and is that going to work, and will I do that, and will that happen, and so there was an element of training to say, these are how you turn your stones, your stones this way, right? Let's just do that. Let's just do exactly what he says and turn those stones over. Then the element was, well, okay, we've got to trust this, and we've got to go for this, and even though, you know, you do put there's a level of risk on anything you do in anything like this, but you trust it. So that's the bit that makes you accelerate at high speed.
I think you're a great example of the saying we have in Mastermind is trust the process. That what we've done so many times, we know what works, we know what doesn't work. If you do this and keep going, because we say it's not easy, you know, there are challenges, and you know, you have to overcome those, but being in a group is not easy to overcome. But if you follow the process and keep going, you will get results, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you couple that, if you're in the corporate world, and if there's people listening here that are working in corporate world and want to do this, the skills that you build up sometimes in corporate world doing senior jobs of project management, finances, all these things and skill sets that aren't connected to property, you do have them there. You have that skill set.
They're transferable, aren't they, into property?
Absolutely. So you transfer. I was transfer. I used to project manage all the time. I'd start factories in. The India one was start a factory from scratch and get it launched, and so all project management. The only slight thing is when you're in large corporates, you have people doing jobs for you. You have people working for you.
So do it for yourself.
When you start going back again, then you've got to dig it all out and do it for yourself. So so there's a little difference that, but you do then realize. So if you couple the basic education over this is how you find opportunities, with the process that you're going to trust, couple that with corporate experience, and then you've got funds. Now I did two things on funding. I had a little bit of pot of my own to start injecting some cash into. But at the same time, part of the education is how do you insert other people's finances and get finance. So I did that at the same time. So I coupled mine together. So mine's a high amount because I brought those two together. I was just looking. I raised over £300,000 from other people in that period of time to do that, which allowed me to have the confidence to go to the next one, and keep them.
Because otherwise, if you put all your money into one property and, as you say, wait to see how that goes, it's going to slow down the process. So one of the things about Mastermind is really speeding up the process, using momentum investing to bring your money back out again, and also using other people's funds as well, and giving them a great return so they're really happy, right?
Yes. So one, I had to in order to meet your target and to beat that target, and in order to keep momentum going, I knew I needed to have multiple projects on the go. I needed to be really hot on the opportunity finding and do that a lot, and do that well. And I needed to have funds already sat ready to go. So I identified that's the environment I needed around me, and that's what I needed to go at. So
let's break those things down a little bit more for people, so we can give them some real golden nuggets to take away. So first of all, let's just think about, so what were the key strategies you used? It was mainly HMOs and serviced accommodation, right?
Yeah, HMOs was the thing I went for. And that's that was my focus, and I made that the number one focus. And that's what I've specialized in, and that's what I've extended and gone on to and keep doing now, and that's what I do more of than anything else. By turning stones, I got other opportunities, and because I had a single let and I had some background into holiday letting, then sometimes I turned stones and I thought, well, let's not dismiss that. I'll use that. Let's not, So I didn't solely I didn't dismiss things. If anything came along that I felt was a better fit to a different strategy, I incorporated it and I took it.
Because obviously, HMOs is not the only strategy we teach, but it's one of the most popular ones because it's the fastest way to replace your income, which is what most people want to do. But so there are so many other things, and I think it's being aware of those other opportunities. So if you're aware of them, when you spot them, you can decide, am I going to do it? I'm going to pass on to someone else. I'm going to joint venture, and you've got that choice, haven't you?
Yes, and that's what I do now. I mean, now I look at opportunities, and then I see what is that opportunity going. What's that building going to be? What can it be? And that comes down to size, location, type of property, and that's I've diversified. I've single, I've commercial, I have service accommodation, I have HMOs.
Yeah.
On Mastermind, it was all about HMOs, and I've kept focused on that. And if anybody says, "What are you specialize in?" That's my specialist subject. That's my specialist subject. That's what I do well. That's what I continue to do since Mastermind. But I like the diversity I do of the other areas.
So let's talk about actually finding deals, or turning stones, as you call it. So what were the main strategies you used to find the deals that you've actually done?
Yeah, that's interesting because I've got a real mixed bag. Actually, it ended up being a real mixed bag. It did. Landlord letters was one I constantly did. That was the process. That's what you trained us to do, and do a specific way. So I picked up. I was looking at during the period. I picked 2 of them up as landlord letters.
Yeah.
What they were HMOs that were already working.
Yeah.
So they're already set up. I actually quite like buying something that isn't and making it a one. So landlord letters don't quite sometimes turn those. Although I got connected with people who had other properties that I felt I could do that with.
Yeah.
So landlord letters gave me opportunities. It got me into landlords, and it gave me talking to a lot of landlords and people.
Yeah.
I took 2 of them on. But I took them on because they were desperately in need of serious refurbishment. So my eye, because of my background on single lets and flipping, has always been adding value. If I ever had to say what's my thing, my thing is adding value to something. And because I want that, because I'm looking long term and I want some income. Yes, I wanted income, but I also am drawn to that equity and that asset increase in value. And also, I want to regurgitate that money as quickly as I can. So if I can add that value, I can then regurgitate it and put it back in. There's the momentum. So I got 2 landlord letters. I did everything you said in terms of that. I did a lot of time and effort in those, actually. But landlord letters got me 2. I'm looking down. I got 2 that were, you know what? The 2 of them. One of them was actually Rightmove in my area. It was just a simple Rightmove.
When you know what you're looking for, there are deals online, aren't there?
Absolutely, online. Went in quickly, got it, and got that one. One was literally, I knew what type of property I wanted. I knew what size I needed. I knew what area I wanted. So I just walked. I just went around, traveled around, and one of them was straight away. It came on the market. So it was on Rightmove, but I didn't find it on Rightmove. I saw it because I just knew it came up in the street. I would love to have one, and that was a deceased estate. It was. I still think it's probably the best one I got. Deceased estate. Nipped it and took it straight away. So I don't class that as Rightmove because I wasn't looking on that. I was looking. Anything that came up in that street, those few streets, I was going to be on to.
So if that was your best, let's talk about that to give people some idea of numbers and things on that particular deal. So you spotted it on the street, happened to be on the market anyway, deceased estate. So tell us about that deal.
Yeah, so that one, and the reason why I like it, and the reason why I like, there's 2 I have that I prefer, and it's not the numbers, it's not the top end numbers and how big they are. It's the gymnastics around doing it. It is sometimes, and some of it's the financial gymnastics, and also using knowledge. What I like about these 2 that I prefer is the knowledge I use. So this one is so it's on the estate. So looking around, it was on the open market, but I got in really, really quick. So I knew the area and I knew the size. Bought it for 120,000. So it was a 120,000 purchase. Now I knew it had a cellar. I knew the size of it, so I could immediately see it working. when you walk around these, you see the rooms and you see what it can be. In your head, you're thinking, right, well, I can put that there, that there, that there, and you know what it is. So I knew I could get 7 out of it. So I knew it was a seven bedder all day long. So it was 120 purchase. It could be a 7 bedder. It would need planning change to get to 7 bed.
Yeah.
And then I looked at it and thought, this is one that I picked up, and I'd just got a couple of others. So the funds were down, hadn't got the new funds in. So I thought, right, how am I going to do this? I'm not letting this one go. So I went to a bridge. So I went to a bridger. So we did 2 bridges on this one. We bridged the first one on the 120. So we got about 75% on the 120.
Yeah.
And then I had equity sat in another property.
Yeah.
I did. So I thought, why? And this was second charge things. You taught about second charges.
Yeah.
Using equity in the other business. So I went to the bridges and said, would you consider this other property and this equity? I had to make sure my first charge bank was okay with it.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
They said it was okay with it. And so I did. So they second charged it. So I ended up with 2 bridges, and I borrowed 75% of the purchase, but the second one covered the 25%. Not only the 75% did it cover, it covered the total refurb cost as well. So
really none of your actual cash involved in the deal.
No.
Just the equity in the property you bought and an equity in another property. So none of your money required, but all the money to refurb it, and then obviously, I guess, add value, refinance, use momentum investing to clear the debt and get most of the cash out, right? Did you get all the cash out on that one?
I got everything about £1,700 in it, pretty much, because got the 7 bed, revalued. So I bought it 120, revalued at 275,000.
Yeah. How much did you spend on the refurb?
About 63 to 65-ish thousand it was on refurb.
Yeah.
We went back, we put on, that was full on suited. And we did a fairly decent refurb.
That's pretty good. Where in the country was that?
That's in Barnsley's, that one.
Yeah.
So it's in a relatively northern, not one of the most expensive places.
Yeah.
I invest in some affluent places like sort of Harrogate and York and places like that. But I also, within my little area, have cheaper areas that you can pick up on. So,
And then what is that property? So you got pretty much most of the money, apart from almost £2,000.
Yeah.
So not a lot to leave in. And what does that property give you? That one property give you in cash flow?
So that I just looked at that gives us over £3,000 in £3,011 gross coming off.
Yeah.
And it cash flows £1,887 a month.
So after paying the mortgage and the bills, the insurance, we get £1,800 per month. Yeah. Coming out, and actually, based on 2,000 in, that's a phenomenally high return on investment, right?
It's absolutely great.
Yeah. Awesome. I wonder it's a good deal.
Yeah, I love that deal. Just because I didn't, because the danger was when I first found it was, timing's not good. I need to do something. I need to think this one through. I need to get strategic with this one.
Yeah. If people are thinking they have to just use their money, at some point they'll run out of their own cash, or it might be tied up in other things.
Yeah.
And so, is that something you would have done before Mastermind? Do you think?
No. No, I wouldn't have had. No, yes, I had some elements of that knowledge, but I didn't have it all put together in the pieces where it needs to be, and have the confidence to do that. No.
Yeah. Fantastic.
No.
So we've talked about how you find deals. We talked a little bit more about how you fund, because obviously you've used some of your own money, you've used this creative financing, and you said you obviously raised £300,000 from other people. How did you find working with other people's money?
Okay, at first I didn't really want to, because I thought, okay, if you work with someone else's money, you've got to give some of it away. And then obviously the profit level's down. But no, it works fine. It means I can, because you sat there, you think, well, you can do things quicker, and you keep moving, and you don't miss opportunities, and you keep that flow coming. So that's all. I mean, that was all right. I went to friends and family. I went to local people. I told people what I did, and and people invested in, and people continued to invest in, and then my number one priority is to make sure that they get a good return. And as long as I'm doing the deals that I'm doing, then there's plenty to give back.
Yeah, there's plenty of equity and cash flow for you to give them a good return, but still have a very healthy return yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, fantastic. So this has been great, Nick. And if you could give people some tips, you've got some hints and tips, people who might want to emulate your success. It's been very inspiring. What are some of the things that you would advise people to do?
I would. Well, I hope it's come through that education.
Yeah, well, I think that's a kind of a given, really.
It is, yeah, it is there, but it brings a covenant. So for me, it's not easy. You've got to put the time and effort in. There's no doubt about it. So if anybody sits there and reads the, and it's not completely passive. It's, you've got to do some work for it. So
yeah.
So you've got to have the right mindset. You've got to be able to action things. I also think if you're in corporate world, it can be done whilst you're working. If you don't have to give it all up and put that pressure. It can be done if you do the right things in the right way and get the systems in place. You can do it. So I wouldn't certainly say don't just dive and jump out of corporate world, but
we always recommend people, even if they're desperate to get out, to at least get some properties, get the cash flow out, and prove the model to themselves. So they absolutely know it works. Yeah. And then if they want, they could then leave. But it's better to replace your income first.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the other thing is, I'd say just some of my deals. So I mean, we're giving you a little prize one there. It's a really good one. Not necessarily for the cash flow. I've got actually higher cash flow in HMOs than that. But that one's interesting because of the dynamics and the gymnastics we did. Tell
me about your highest cash flowing HMO then. That might be a great case study to quickly run through.
Oh, the highest one is in a more affluent area. So the rents, the difficulty, and sometimes people think, oh, go to a really cheap northern town, and you can buy something really cheap. But generally, cheap northern towns are relatively low in rents.
Yes.
And if you've got one that hasn't got an Article 4 in it, then you've got a lot of people doing it effectively, and then there's a lot of competition there. So I see a lot of people, particularly in that town, that there's a lot of empty voids in that town.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't say that's a good place to go. No. I put an exceedingly good product together. And I get full rents because I put an exceedingly good product together.
And I think just on that note, Nick, I think it's fair to say that in many places there is now an oversupply of HMOs. Yeah. But if you go on and do your research, most of them are very average. They're magnolia walls. The furniture doesn't really look very good. Whereas we teach people to have higher than average standards. And if you have really good rooms, you're going to fill those before anyone else fills the average ones, right? And you get a higher rent as well.
Yeah, and I think going back to advice, it's knowing that market. No, don't just pick something up in an area you think is cheap and it'll just all magically work. It won't. You've got to know that area. You've got to know what the rents are. Know what the competition is. You've got to know if it's over populated. Because you get some councils that just haven't got their act together on Article 4. They just haven't. And that's a classic one. That town has no Article 4. They haven't got their act together. It's not the best place to invest unless you know what you're doing. And other places, I see it sometimes where you get people if people aren't doing the real homework, they see something on Facebook or see something that this is an area you should be going into. And they've missed the boat by then because it's been and gone and it's filled up. So my most affluent ones are in areas that are a higher rental income. So it's I still bought well at a good price, but the higher yielding. We're getting double the rental income.
So you mentioned Harrogate, York, they're both pretty good affluent places.
They are. You will leave money in though, because you're not going to get your money out. And this is understanding it. If someone's got deep pockets, they can go to places like York and Harrogate, and but you're going to walk away with money left in.
Yes, but the money that's left in, I mean, you can refinance to get some of it out, but you're going to leave some money in.
You're going to
It's similar to down south. You know, if you're buying London, home counties, very often you can't get all of your money out, but the money that is left in, you often get a very high return on that.
You do. But then, yeah, so you've got to know, you got to think about your strategy. You've got to know what money you've got. You've got to know what you're going to do. I look for a balanced portfolio. I can have a high yielding, high costly ones, but also I've picked them up for 70,000. I pick properties up for 70,000, turn them into 5 and 6 bed HMOs, and buy them and get them cheap. So I do a mixed bag because I like to have that range. But so it is about, I mean, probably one of my best advice is know where it is. There's no point in someone turning up to high expensive areas even in the north, with a 40,000-50,000 deposit in the pocket, and then want to do momentum investing, because you're going to leave that and you're not going to go any further. That's it. You're going to get one, and you're not going to be able to do anything more unless you then will you're looking for money again, and you're going away. So it's understanding. It is having to think about the numbers and what's your strategy and what are you going to do if you're buying and purchasing. I mean, obviously, if you're PLOing or if you're rent to renting, then there's other ways to do it. But if you're buying, you've got to know and you've got to be thinking 2 or 3 steps ahead. How am I going to buy my next one? How am I going to fund my next one?
Yeah.
What's the income? If I'm leaving money in, what is my return on that money invested? Am I happy with that? Is my investor happy with that? So you have to think about it and don't get any surprises.
And as a finally, Nick, and thank you for sharing. I mean, I think it's been really inspiring. So lots of golden nuggets in there for people. Could you kind of tell us a little bit about how Mastermind has changed your life?
Oh well, my aim was to change from the corporate world. I started educating myself whilst I was in formally educating myself, I should say, whilst I was in corporate life. I have made that move. I do property full time. I have no intention to go back to corporate world. I do get the time with the kids and the wife, and I do get the I work hard. I work late sometimes. I'm up early and working early because I enjoy working. It's not because I'm not here saying I want complete passive income and I don't want to work. I want to work, but I want to work on my terms, and I want to be my own. I wanted to have my own destiny in my own hands. I wanted to make, if it's a bad decision, at least it's my decision, and if it's a good decision, then at least I get the most of the upside to that decision. So I wanted to run my life like that, and property has quite simply allowed me to do that.
It's interesting that when I was working at Cadbury's, I used to have to get up quite early in the morning, and I didn't like having to do that. Now I actually get up quite early, but I get up because I want to get up, because I'm doing what I really want to. I love Cadbury's, it was great, but I'm really doing what I want to do now, and that's a huge difference, getting up because you want to rather than you have to, right?
Yeah, and when I did work, I put 110% into work, and that's how I got promoted, because I did well at my job. And I was never. I'm that type of person. Whatever I do, I will do as much as I can and do something to my best of my ability. But even the reason why I started investing in property is, in my own mind, I had, let's look after, Nickco. Let's get a Nickco going. Let's start investing myself and bringing my pot together, and that's what was my mentality. So I switched to the focus being, Nick Smith Co, not corporate co, and that's what it's allowed me to do. That's what allowed me to do. So I still put more time and effort in, but I have a choice. And interesting, the whole, we were talking in the middle of the lockdown, and it's an interesting time because kids are off school. So I've worked early this morning. I got up early before the kids get up and the wife gets up. I work a bit, and then I get the kids when they're ready, and we've gone out and done a PE class. So I'll take them out and we spend some time. We're doing a PE class. Come back and I start work again. And then I'll make sure that I'm home for tea every day. I do a little breakfast thing. So the key points in the people I love's lives are there. I'm there.
Yeah.
I'll be there. When they go to bed, I might do a little bit more work. So
yeah.
I just choose. It's my choice. It's choice. It's choice.
It is choice.
That's what it is. It's choice. It gives you choice.
That's it. Nick, thank you so much. It's been really inspiring to hear your journey, and great points in there as well. So thanks for coming on Mastermind and just trusting the process and just doing it, and obviously focusing and going for it. And thanks so much for sharing. It's been real inspiration. So really appreciate the time, and best of luck, and speak to you soon.
No problem at all. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much.
See you later.
Cheers, Nick.
Bye-bye. Bye.